Hello, this is a walkthrough of my dual Markov chain generator for the workshop computer by Music Thing Modular. It works, if you don't know about Markov chains, they are based on transition tables with probabilities associated, and inside there's a few already built Markov chains that I think are musically useful. It works in two halves, the left-hand half and the right-hand half. So I'm going to, at the bottom left-hand corner, I'm going to talk you through everything. There's a clock. So I'm inputting clock from PAMS. I've got here gate and pitch CV out, which is currently giving me a Markov chain. Now, I'm going to talk you through what happens. If I pull the Z switch down, I can now select a scale, and there's 12 scales to choose from, indicated by the LEDs at the bottom. I know that one is the Ionian scale, the major scale, so you'll have to look that up. I've laid them out, so basically it's minory ones on the left and majory ones on the right. So if I move over here, I'm into a more interesting minor style scale. Right. X is choosing the table that is being used. Now, when you touch X, it changes the lights down here, and it can go from through a series of 5 tables. Right. The second table, which is indicated by just one LED at the top for a short while, is very small transitions. Just stepwise transitions are highly favoured in this Markov chain, so we can hear that. If I move into the centre position here on the Z switch and then centre the knob right in the centre, none of the LEDs light up and it obeys the Markov chain probabilities. The gate out is only happening when the note after the quantization is changing. So we're getting these melodies that only trigger when the note changes. But it makes something quite pleasant. If I change the X to different tables, the leftmost one is kind of, I'm calling that kind of steady, whereas on the right hand side, fully right, it changes much less often, so we're getting less often triggers. But for now, I'm going to leave it in that stepwise position. Right, on the right hand side, I've got a gate out here. And this is Markov percussion, and this is a transition table of different moves that the percussionist can do. So I've got that just connected to an FM sort of sound there, so that's doing a thing. Again, it's just obeying that table, clocked each time it clocks, and some of those different things that the percussionist can do include triplet fills or ratchety things and so forth. If I move through, I'm changing, it's the lights on the right hand side that show me which of the tables I'm on. Again, at the far right, at the far clockwise end of the Y scale, these tables do less, whereas the ones on the left are a bit busier. So I'm going to leave that up there at the table I laughingly call jazzy. Each of the 8 slots in the table also include a accent, which is sent out of CV out 2. I'm using accent here just to make it really obvious. I'm using accent 2 to actually it's going to change the pitch. So when it accents, I think. No, it's not, because I'm not. That is right. So that's now changing every time the accent is coming out. It's changing the pitch of that percussion. Right, let's mix those together and then talk about what else happens. If I move the switch into the top position, this knob is now transposing the left-hand side, the melodic element, before the quantizer. So it's right at the bottom end. It's all at the top end. So it's still within the scale. If I move it into the centre position, it's free running in the centre, but as I move to the right or to the left, it's going to lock it at different lengths. These are indicated by the lights down here. So this is a bit Turing-machine-ish. So that's locked at a 16. It captures the last 16 beats that it's then repeating, and we can hear that. Move it back to the centre. It'll start just moving on from it using its Markov chain rules. That's 8, 4, 3, or just 2. Right, so let's go back to the centre. So that's as I move clockwise, the loop that I've captured gets shorter and shorter. So that's an 8 long loop. If I move the other way, it does the same thing, 16, 8, 4, 3, 2. But I'm going to... So I've captured an 8-step loop, but each time the loop triggers, each section in the loop has a probability associated with it changing as per the Markov rules, dependent on the previous step in the table. I know that sounds quite complicated, but what it means is if it's left in this position, it'll gradually mutate across the time that's going on, and we can hear that. So I can start it in the centre, grab a loop I like to the right, or start it to the centre, grab a loop I like to the left, anti-clockwise, and have that loop mutate. Right. Let's just talk about some other bits and bobs. I'm going to take out those CV, because that's not the only way you can use this. We can also use it with its own internal audio engine. So there's a little square wave synth, it's a bit loud, a little square wave synth playing out there, and that is taking the notes, the pitch from the left hand side and the rhythms from the right hand side, so I can end up with quite a complicated thing. And again, I can lock it, it's going to be sitting there repeating the same 8 notes, or I can lock it at 8 notes and it will gradually mutate, and both the notes and the rhythms will mutate. I've gone with 16/8, kept them fairly straight and musical. Now, because we've got the facility to do that, if we remove the clock, oh no, in fact, while I'm doing it, if I use the CV in here, I'm just coming off the control, that's just a master pitch, and that sits after the quantizer. Potentially quite useful for tuning it with other things or changing the root of where your scale is. You'll be doing that by ear, but there it is. But it's 1 volt per octave if you want to get technical. Right, if I've got no clock coming in, after a little while it decides it's got its own clock, and it creates a 120 beats per minute clock, which it then does. I was running at about twice that before. Now, just so you can use something out of the box with nothing else plugged in, we've got some audio. If I then pop into that bipolar CV input there, I've got control just with CV over the tempo. Everything else works the same, but it's just running on its own, under its own steam, which I think is quite useful if you don't want to use a clock. Okay. Another mode for working, completely new mode, and it's the dual melodic mode. It ignores the percussion side and has two melodic Markov chain generators. So hold down Z and reset it, and it resets, and it's now in dual Markov. And now the right hand output here with any look. Did I reset that correctly? Oh yeah, there we go. Now I've got 2 of them going. They're coming off the internal clock at the moment. I'm going to stick it from the external clock. The external clock's taken over now, and I can change the chains associated with it. So this now X and Y are both cycling through the sets of chains that we use. So this one, the Y one, the right hand one, is now glacially slow, and the X one's also glacially slow, so they're not changing very often, both following the same scale. If I move upwards, we're shifting them through the scale. If I move using the transpose, I've got left hand side. Oh, let's get them both going. So that's just transposing one of them. So if I want to transpose them both, I need to put the same voltage into that, which is a bit crazy sounding, but there we go. And then just tap the reset button to send it back into its normal mode, where it's one side is Markov percussion, the other side is, well, one side's Markov percussion on the right, and then the left hand side is Markov melody chains. Right, enough blathering.